Hey, welcome to my back deck chat. I haven't done one of these in so long. Yeah, I took a slower pace through the summer, but here we are at the end of summer, the height of summer, the tail end of it. And yeah, the shift, I don't know if you feel it, but the shift is certainly happening into the next season. And it's these transition seasons that I particularly find are tricky. This is often where health stuff starts to pop up. This is often where we make new conclusions about things, or things shift and then we feel a certain way as a result of it. So, here we are on my back deck. Neighbor is mowing the lawn. There's a northern flicker harping somewhere. They're super plentiful this year. Has anybody else noticed that? Also, the purple asters this year have been marvelous out in the nature, as I like to call it. As are zinnias. Let's just take a moment to appreciate this beauty. Yeah. Anyway, my garden is my favorite thing. So, hi. All this to say hi. How are you? Glad to land in your inbox. These back deck chats I haven't done in a long time. I've been laying low. I've been trying to keep a little bit more quiet and make it more intentional when I do have something to say, as opposed to just spewing off into the ether. Because I've been busy building a lot of different things, and I've taken on a few new positions where I do some video editing. So, because that pays the bills. And in addition to working with clients and building the content that I offer to you. So, there's been a lot on the go. And this theme of difficulty through transition is one that I find for myself and that I'm hearing resonating for a lot of folks out there. So, if this is you, stick around. Yeah. Also, I hope your garden has done well. And if you don't garden, I hope you've had a chance to pop out to the farmers markets and to see what's available, what's bounty out there, and to learn either a new food to you or a new skill somewhere along the way. I was just chatting with a lovely friend and neighbor of mine the other day. She called me and she said, I have too much in my garden. Can you come and pick some? I know your Swiss chard and your tomatoes didn't do well. I have other stuff too. So I went over and she was sharing with me, oh my gosh, I got so much peppermint for 2 winters, I think, worth. Root vegetables, tomatoes, cucumbers, so many things. Her backyard is an absolute marvel. Way to go, Carolyn. Anyway, we were chatting and Carolyn was telling me that her mom, for many generations before her, always bottled horseradish. Yeah, and they would make horseradish as a condiment, I suppose you could say, for the winter. And she and her siblings get together every fall and they prepare this horseradish for every year. And so I very unceremoniously said, oh my God, call me. Can I please come and partake? So for me, the new skill this year is going to be, I hope she calls me, that I'm going to learn how to put up horseradish. The only way I've ever done horseradish is I've fermented it and I've made it into fire cider. So this is very exciting. So I hope for you that you've been able to develop new skills, to discover new foods, to learn something fun and new in relation to your food. And that's what I'm here for. That is my goal for everyone that good food and you comes in contact with, is to help good food and you come together. And often that developing skill is an intentional piece that needs to happen. It's something that can come from the family history behind you. It can come from learning new trades and new skills from friends and coworkers and, siblings and new sisters-in-law, those kinds of things. And they are also unearthing some of these practices. And to me, that is actually a part of what keeps me more even-keeled, especially in these transition seasons. So to me, the fall and the spring are those transition seasons where, I think of the way that we've learned about seasons, and it's kind of this circle, right? You go through, if you start at winter, then you go through spring, and then you go through summer, and then you go through fall, and there's winter, and you sort of do the circle around. Or if you look through the calendar, there's the winter into spring, into summer, into fall, into winter. I still see the calendar as January to April, May to August, September to December, like it was the first year in grade 2 when you learn the calendar. So that's how I think a lot of people think of it, but I think of it a little bit differently. And I've come to this conclusion this year based on the space that I intentionally created and was goddamn difficult for me because this piece is hard. Hi, Clematis, do you want to hang out? Okay, thanks. So, she keeps bopping me in the head. So, do you see all the bees? Hi. Well, aren't you handsome? Hey. Okay, so anyway, squirrel. Okay, so the, what was I talking about? Yeah, so the seasonal transition. So I think of it in a totally different way. And this is, I'm still ruminating on it. I don't know that I've actually decided that this is what I finalize about all of this, but I'm on there. I'm on the way. I think of there's the two extremities and we vacillate between the two. I think there is summer and there is winter. And those are the two extremities. And we vacillate between summer and winter. And those seasons in between are that transition season, so spring and fall. Spring and fall, well, depends where you are, I suppose, but spring happens for a really long time in Alberta, so does fall. But it really feels like winter goes on for 9 months of the year, whereas truly, honestly, winter actually has so much of fall into it and so much of the early spring stuff going on. So, like all in due time. Anyway, and summer is just so ephemeral and it's just so fleeting and it feels so magical, like this ephemeral thing. This is a perfect word for it. So I feel like right now we are swinging from summer and we are in the in-between towards winter. So we're coming in that transition time and then we'll go to winter and then we'll swing back through in spring and then we'll end up at the other end with summer. And then we'll do this again. Now, where we are currently sitting is right in the middle. And it's that transition that what I notice for me wakes up new things every time. I think I am a person who has a hard time with transitions. I really like safety, I really like reliability, and I really like routine. And the older I get, the more I need that. I used to love just going off the handle when I was 20, in my 20s. No longer the case. I really like that steady pace in the between so that I know where I stand, so I know what's coming, so that there's nothing surprising, so I don't have to pull the stress response out of nowhere to get through the moment. Maybe that's you. So what I see in myself and what I see in clients is in those transition seasons is where the flux of new clients come. Because this is where the ping, something's not right and I need to change. And I think this transition season is a part of naturally, energetically, what we are called to work on or what is being asked to change in our life or being asked to be looked at, if you will. And I think these transition seasons, that in between, is where they augment, is where they make their presence known, if you will. Because it's what I see in my clients. It's what I see in myself as well. And I don't know if that's true for you. It's just been a curious thing I've noticed this year. And I marvel at the brilliance and the ingenuity of cycles and observing patterns. And I realize that with my 50 years on this earth, I've been afforded the repetition of things and the cycling through different years and different, like returning through the same cycle more than once, 50 in fact. And then you get to make different conclusions. And I'm sure my conclusions at 70 will be very different than the conclusions I have today at 50. I still can't believe I'm 50. Anyway, I know, 29 inside. Like, okay, maybe 24. Okay, maybe 14. I still like poop jokes. So, all of this to say, if you find yourself through a transition period where it feels like there's a little bit of upheaval or a little bit of unknown or unknowing or questions or discomfort around symptoms, health stuff on the go, or realizations of things that are asking for help, that your body is hurting, that aching, something's happening, you're not sure. And in the midst of all of that, you're feeling this upheave. I wanted to share something that I came across earlier today from a really lovely human. Her Instagram handle is Asia Suler. And Asia Suler is, I her insights and her way of seeing things is just, I feel like she's 2 steps ahead of me, and she's turning around and she's reaching out with her hand. Come on, Luca, you got this. And I feel like she's leading the way, and she brings in this opportunity, this chance to dive deep for myself, and in that philosophical piece and that thinking piece, which I really enjoy doing and have worked hard in my life to create that space, because without it, my adrenals really peter out. I'm an introvert at heart, and that's how I refill my battery. So I wanted to share with you what it is she wrote this morning. So she says, and I'll make sure that the link to the post is below this video if you want to go read it. The only thing more exhausting than having the world fall apart is trying to keep it all together. I know, right? When it feels like absolutely every seam is unraveling around me, I return to this note on my phone and I remind myself, if nothing feels doable, stop doing. What? I can have permission for that? No, you don't need permission. If nothing is coming together, let the worries depart for a while. If everything is falling apart, stop trying to hold it together. Oh my God, that's terrifying. Let what needs to fall apart go the way of the sunflowers, breaking with the weight of their seeds. Sometimes you just have to give yourself permission to fall apart in order to come back together. So when I read that this morning, I thought, oh yeah. What is more exhausting? Realizing that it feels like systems are collapsing, the world is falling apart. That is exhausting. Or is the exhausting part the fact that you're working so hard to hold it together and pull it together? Which one is it for you? I, over the last 4 years, have realized that my work is in the second one of those. Working to stop trying to hold on to it. And then when I find that debilitating, when that feels like it's going to stop me in my tracks, then I give up a little bit for like a millisecond. And then I go, okay, wait. I don't have to decide in this moment, but where can I find comfort and where can I find solace for myself when in the midst of that letting go and that discomfort that sits with letting go? The hard part of, but I'm holding it together, and what happens if I let go? That feeling. Oh, hi. I don't know how some of these bees can fly around. They are so big with such teeny wings. Like, I marvel. Anyway. God, I love my garden. Okay, so in that moment, then I think, okay, well, what is the right answer and what is a yes? What feels like a yes in my body for me? And if I don't know, then I go to nature. Like I go out in nature and I observe and I pay attention. Going back to the seasons and the cycling of seasons, what happens in the fall? The energetics of the fall, like if you think of the energetics of different seasons based on what's happening in nature, what is the energetic movement or the energetic flow in fall? Hint, it's in the word, fall. Yeah. So the energetics of fall are going down. So what happens in fall? Well, the trees let go of their leaves. The perennials collapse. And all of the energy goes down into the roots. My sunflowers, yeah, totally, like Asia Suler said. My sunflowers, super heavy with seeds, are actually collapsing, and now I've got them drying on my outside table in the sun so that I can save the seeds to give to the birds. And this one, apparently, I didn't pull off fast enough because the mice got at it. Oops. Well, I suppose they need food too. So I'm going to save those seeds for winter. So the collapse of things, the falling of things. So there is that fall, that downwards motion, the letting go happens in fall. I'm going to take it a step further. In traditional Chinese medicine, in TCM circles, And I'm not a TCM practitioner, but I find it infinitely fascinating to look at different modalities around the world and to see what are some of those resonances with different cultures that pick up on the same geography and time of the year. In TCM circles, the two main organs for the season are the lungs, and the large intestine is the corresponding organ. They are the major organs of the season, and they are the organs that you would tend to in the fall season. So what do the lungs do? Oh, they take in the new. What does your large intestine do? Let's go of the old. Oh, hi, fall. How are you? So are the codes hardwired into this deep knowing that we have, that different cultures have and have observed and come to the conclusion of? Are those codes universal? Well, I think so, if we pay attention. And what are my codes? Because I am just as much a part of what's going on as the person who developed TCM from their observations and the system that came about, the whole TCM way of looking at things. So what holds true for me? Well, is that not the general energetic of the fall? And if you have, like me, the initial fear of, wait, but I can't just, I guess I could let go because that's what fall is. Wait, but what if I let go of things? Things are going to fall apart. They are going to fall apart. You're correct. Look into nature. What happens? The leaves fall off the trees and the leaves physically fall apart. They break down into the humus, the soil, the humus, however you want to pronounce it. I always think I'm making some kind of chickpea dip with it. I'm not. I love hummus. Oh, now I want some hummus. Anyway, but the leaves are falling apart, literally and figuratively, in the soil with the work of the microbes of the soil. It's the bacteria, the worms, the fungi, the mycelium, like the life that is teeming in the soil is helping to break down those leaves. Why is it doing that? Are the leaves done? No. The leaves are just into their next phase of their life. The leaf litter is now falling apart into pieces and is going to feed next year's garden, because I've been around for 50 cycles now, and I know that if I plunk things on my garden beds at the end of the season, if I dig that trench in the middle of my bed that's right there that has kale, carrots, a little bit of Swiss chard, there was some garlic in there earlier, and there's nasturtium in there. If I dig a trench in there once the garden is done, and I pile in all of the stems of the kale, all of the extra bits from the carrots that I'm not using, when the frost hits and kills the nasturtiums, I'll put the nasturtiums in there as well. If I cover that up, and I've got those fallen pieces because the frost came and said, no more for you. Yeah, she's in charge, we're not. I put that in the soil and that's going to fall apart. That's going to decompose because I look in the spring, and every spring I am amazed. My compost bin that's next to the house 3 feet away is still in chunks and recognizable foods. The stuff I put in the soil, which is where it's supposed to live inside of the nature, fell apart, and you cannot even tell that I put in some garden debris in there. When it comes around to springtime, that stuff is already decomposed. The stuff that has been sequestered in my compost bin is going to take tending to, is going to take a lot more of my energy, my pulling with my aerator thing, my making sure it's watered, measuring the browns and the greens, and really doctoring my compost heap. And I will do that, don't get me wrong, I will do that. But if I do it the way nature has figured out how to do it, she's goddamn efficient, friend. She does not need you to be in charge. She needs you to just be an observer. And I'm going to pull all of my garden stuff, all the extras. I'm going to dig a trench into each of my 5 beds. And I'm going to bury all of the stuff that's left from my garden. And next spring, I know that my soil there will be ready to cultivate yet another year. And I know that there will be another time, God willing I'm around, to put more seeds and to grow new stuff next year. But that wouldn't happen as well as it does this year if I didn't compost as well last year. And last year, this time of year, I had to let stuff go. I had to let it fall, and I had to stop holding it together, and I had to allow it to have its chance in the rhythm of things. And that's what fall is, and that's what nature can give. If you take a moment when you are overwhelmed, when you find, oh my God, the whole world's falling apart. Oh, this is coming back. This is showing up. This is new. This is where we're heading. I feel this. I'm terrified. Fear drives so much. Fear is the driving emotion of consumerism and capitalism. If we get you scared enough, you're going to go buy things. Blech. That's the old system, friend, and that's what we're witnessing right now is the old system crumbling down the collapse. I would much prefer, if I'm going to be living through a compost cycle in the world, I am going to actively observe, marvel in the beauty and magic, and help with the composting. That's what my role is. That's what my part was to come at this time in the continuum of the world. Indigenous populations have long identified that there are different cycles. There are cycles of composting and cycles of growth. That's a natural rhythm that occurs in nature and is completely reliable when left to its own devices and without human intervention. Humans have sometimes I think we are too much in our heads, and we need to do that work of coming back into our hearts. So if that quote or that reading I just read from Asia Suler resonates with you, I would recommend going to check her out and find her. If this resonated, might I recommend that at least once a week, if not once a day, can you do something that helps you reinsert yourself into nature? Whether or not you wonder if you need solutions, whether or not you're afraid, whether or not you are witnessing the collapse, whether or not you are like, there's no collapse, Luca. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Where you are is where you're supposed to be. It's not that I don't care, but we're all going to have a different way in. We're all going to have a different reason. We're all going to have different things on the go. We're all going to have different needs. We're all going to have different journeys. One of the essential pieces of being a human being is to be a human being, not a human doing. Where can you be a human, and where can you notice nature, and where can you just observe? Is it a walk once a week in the same place where every week you come back to it and you look to see what's changed? That's one of my favorite ways to do it. Could you be a gardener? Could you commit to getting a garden plot next year if you can't grow anything in your backyard? That's a really brilliant way to notice the cycles and to notice what happens. And the more years you commit to doing this, the more you start to see patterns, and the more you start to see the brilliance of cycles, and the more you start to understand how the natural world works. The more you understand how the natural world works, the more you'll be inserted into it. And we are human beings that run on sunlight and air and electrons, a little bit of water, and a lot of bit of fire. I have a fire pit right back there. And those are part of what has been the information that we have garnered as humans on how to move through our days. They have been constants in our days until about 100 years ago. Now we don't have a candle to light our crafts at night. We have a television that we don't even need to craft. We can read our books, but it's like this funky light that is really weird to our eyeballs and signals our body that, hey, it's 12 noon on June 13th and you're in Djibouti. You're in South Africa. Go, bye. That's what the light tells us. So what does that do for your body? Is part of the bewilderment and the stuff that like, if this is a season of letting go, what do you have that you can let go that is contributing to what's driving some of your symptoms? I can't tell you the power of light and circadian rhythm. It is my favorite thing to talk about with clients, and it is the biggest thing that I work with. With clients, it's the first thing that everyone gets now. Realigning yourself with Ma nature in order to trigger the different cycles that you're supposed to have over the course of the month if you have a female body, over the course of the day if you have a human frame, over the course of a season if you live in a particular area of the world, and so on and so forth. Okay, that's my back deck chat. Listen, if you went this far, thanks, pal. I have a class coming up on acid reflux. That is happening next Wednesday. If you struggle with acid reflux, this is a class you want to come to. Super affordable. I'm also doing a live class at the Light Cellar on Sunday the 24th, and that's an in-person class. You can also join online if you'd rather. That one's on constipation. So that one is really, really affordable because I haven't been to the Light Cellar in a long time. I haven't done a live class in a long time. So I'm a little bit nervous, so please be gentle and nice if you come. Because little introvert me is going out on a limb. Because it's time to let go. Because it's the season of falling, and it's the season of taking in the new, which is what the lungs are, and letting go of what no longer serves you, which is the large intestine. So how will you move through this season? I would love to connect with you if you need any support anywhere. I keep building more supports. What do you need? Let's just have a conversation about it first. I'll drop a link below. And then it's called the Discovery Call. You'll remember the word discovery? Yeah. Okay. May the rest of your fall be good to you, and I'll see you again in October. Salut, à bientôt.